Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Saturday, November 5, 2022, and giving you our match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. By becoming a member of the High Stakes Patreon, you will have access to our best team picks, total picks, parlay picks and much more. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting predictions that ends up costing you a lot of time and money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Nebraska Cornhuskers vs Minnesota Golden Gophers. Nebraska put together a couple of wins in early October, but it does not look like that momentum is going to carry over down the stretch this season. The Cornhuskers are likely going to have a backup quarterback under center this week, and they are already playing under an interim coach. Their star wide receiver was held to just one reception last week, and he could be in trouble again this week if Thompson is not the quarterback. None of those factors bode well against an experienced Minnesota team that is coming off an excellent performance against Rutgers. The Golden Gophers have covered the spread in 8 of their last 11 games, while Nebraska has only covered twice in its last 9 games. Our team pick is Minnesota minus 16 points. Minnesota got off to an excellent start this season, winning its first 4 games. The Golden Gophers went through a rough patch in October, though, losing to Purdue, Illinois and Penn State in consecutive double-digit losses. They bounced back last week against Rutgers, using a comprehensive effort to get past the Scarlet Knights in a 31-0 blowout. Minnesota now has a chance to become bowl eligible on Saturday afternoon and has 3 winnable games against Northwestern Iowa and Wisconsin coming up later this month. The Golden Gophers are led by their rushing attack, which ranks second in the Big Ten. Nebraska has had a topsy-turvy season in 2022, which began with a loss to Northwestern as a double-digit favorite in Ireland. The Wildcats have turned out to be one of the worst Power 5 teams in football this season, so that setback does not look any better now than it did then. Nebraska fired head coach Scott Frost following a shocking loss to Georgia Southern in its 3rd game before getting boat raced by Oklahoma the following week. The Cornhuskers played their best stretch of football in their next 3 games, though. They picked up consecutive wins against Indiana and Rutgers before easily covering the 13-point spread in a 43-37 loss to Purdue. They are averaging 222.8 rushing yards per game, going for 253 yards and 4 touchdowns in last week's win over Rutgers. Senior running back Muhammad Ibrahim accounted for 159 of those yards and has now eclipsed 100 yards in 7 games this season. He is facing a Nebraska defense that ranks last in the Big Ten against the run, allowing 190.1 rushing yards per game. The Cornhuskers have had 4 teams rack up more than 200 yards on the ground this year. Senior quarterback Tanner Morgan missed the game against Penn State due to a head injury, but he returned to complete 14 of 21 passes for 122 yards against Rutgers. He has thrown for over 250 yards on 3 occasions this year. The Golden Gophers are averaging 31.9 points per game and 21.6 points per game on the road. They averaged 29.3 points per game in their last 3 games against the Cornhuskers. They run the ball very well, and they're facing a defense that is one of the worst in the country against the run, while giving up 30.6 points per game, so expect the Golden Gophers to hit their average in this game. The Cornhuskers are averaging 27.1 points per game and 27.6 points per game at home. They averaged 15.6 points per game in their last 3 games against the Golden Gophers. They will struggle to move the chains against Minnesota because the Golden Gophers have been dominant against the run and pass while holding opponents to 14.4 points per game, so don't expect them to score enough points to push the score over the total. The Cornhuskers and Golden Gophers played under the total in 2 of their last 3 meetings. Take the under, 46.5 points. Texas A&M Aggies vs Florida Gators. This has just been an unusual year for Fisher and his Aggies. They have lost 2 home games already and have juggled quarterbacks regularly. Weigman played well despite the loss, but will Fisher go back to Haynes King if he is cleared to play? Weigman looked sharp against a high-level opponent on Saturday, and King was part of the 3 straight losses prior to the loss to Ole Miss. I expect him to take another chance with a true freshman on Saturday. Even with that, the real problem for the Aggies is their inability to stop the run. Here comes Florida with their 35th ranked running attack featuring a fleet-footed quarterback in Richardson. Florida will undoubtedly try to feature a heavy dose of run-pass option, with an emphasis on run against the Aggies. On the other side of the ball, the Gators have done a good job against the run this season, so they will force whichever quarterback starts the game to beat them through the air. This will be a tightly played game as neither team is devoid of inefficiencies. The Gators are mediocre in the red zone, and the Aggies can't stop people on the ground. Ultimately, I think the Gators pull out the victory with dynamic games from Richardson and star freshman back Trevor Etienne. A very close game with points coming my way, I'll take that. Go with the Gators, +3. Florida head coach Bill Napier knew it wasn't going to be an overnight build when he took over as head coach this past offseason. After jumping out of the gates with a huge come-from-behind win over then number 7 Utah, the team has gone just 3-4 since. In each of the last 2 weeks, the Gators have been thumped by longtime SEC powers. First, they fell at LSU, and then last week, at the annual world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville against number 1 Georgia, the Gators were thumped 42-20. Quarterback Anthony Richardson went 18 of 37 for 271 yards and 1 touchdown in the game. He also carried the ball 11 times for just 19 yards, as the vaunted Georgia defense was able to hem in the speedster. Wide receiver Xavier Henderson had a big day with 5 catches for 110 yards and 1 score. Overall, the Gators had 371 yards of total offense and just 16 first downs. They didn't have any turnovers, but did turn the ball over on downs by going 0 for 3 on 4th down in the game. They were also just 4 of 16 on 3rd down conversions. Defensively, the Gators allowed 26 first downs and 552 yards of total offense, which included 244 yards on the ground and 4 rushing scores for Georgia. They forced 3 turnovers on the day with 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery, and still lost handily. Florida didn't record a sack and had just 3 tackles for loss in the game. Despite Texas A&M giving up too many yards on the ground, the Aggies are allowing an average of only 21.8 points per game, which is 36th in the nation. The total has finished under in 4 out of the last 5 games that Texas A&M has played on its home field at College Station. The Aggies' offense does not produce that many points, as Texas A&M is scoring an average of only 22.6 points per game. The total has finished under in 4 of the last 5 games that Florida has played against a team with a losing record. In 3 meetings between the two, the total has finished under twice. Take the under, 54.5 points.